Everybody, my name is Monica Pimentel. I'm chair for LD29 Democrats. We are the Democrat group that covers Maryvale, South Glendale, West Phoenix. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for joining us. We have some great information for you all. Normally we would have our LD meetings the first Wednesday of the month. We will not be having those in person anytime soon. So for those of you that have asked, don't ask. This is the way we're going to do things for a while, and I think it's a great forum. So before we actually get started, I'd like to make a quick announcement, very sad announcement, that one of our LD29 family, Ms. Denise Garcia, she is currently the governing board vice president in Cartwright. Her son was murdered a couple days ago. So if everybody, whatever you're doing, please stop for a few moments and join me in a moment of silence in respect to the Garcia family and the loss of their son, James Garcia. Thank you very much. Please keep them in your thoughts. If you pray, please pray for them. This is a difficult time for our family and for our friend Denise. So what we're going to do today is we have our candidates. We are going to take some time and I'm going to have them introduce themselves. There are some questions that will be asked of every single candidate that they're all going to be asked. I have gotten a couple questions in advance for specific candidates. And we're going to go around. I'm going to go simply from the way I see things on my screen. I don't know how anybody else sees things on their screen. Maybe I'll fix my screen so I'm kind of in alignment with everybody else here. I will go first. When I call on you, please, you will get 3 minutes per candidate. Please introduce yourself, the seat you are running for, and then there's 2 quick things you need to answer in quick order. 1, tell us why you're running, and 2, the best taco place in LD29. Starting with Senator Quesada.
All right, well, good evening, everybody. My name is Martin Quesada, and I am your state senator. Here, I represent the people of Maryvale and Glendale here in LD29, and I'm proud to have been serving here for the past 3 legislative sessions or the past 3 legislatures, and I'm running for my 4th term in the Senate to represent LD29. Let's see, what was the first question? I know the second one was tacos, but
why are you running?
Why am I running? No, great question. So I'm running because this has become my passion, serving the people of this district. I feel like I have a great background of doing it, and I feel I've been pretty successful at it in the time that I've been in office. It's been the greatest honor of my life, and I'm not done yet. I still have the energy, the passion, and the drive to get out there and fight the good fight for the people of Arizona. And I'm really looking forward to serving in the majority for the first time in my career. I would love to be able to do that and to be able to actually get a lot of good legislation across the finish line to help improve the lives of LD29 families. And best taco place would have to be my mother's tacos when she comes over to visit me in LD29. She's not always here, but if I don't go with her tacos, I will be disowned. So hers.
I haven't had your mom's tacos, but I gotta agree with her salsa. So that's hands down too. Thank you. Teddy Castro.
Yes, Teddy Castro, running for LD29 as we're all here for it. I appreciate you guys putting this together. Thank you very much. I've been in this community forever. Born and raised in Maryvale, lived in the West Valley, now in Litchfield Park. So you did forget a little bit of Litchfield Park is in there. So for my Litchfield Park family that's out here in LD29, I got to represent for them too. I got to say that I'm really proud to run. I got to tell you that when I was personally out there putting my signs up on the corners and in the yards, that is very euphoric, because never in my wildest dreams that I ever thought that as a young kid, I would be running for office for my community the way that I am today. And so that makes a difference for me to feel that, you know, I'm very proud. I know that my family's proud, my mom's proud. You know, she lives on 43rd McDowell, and, you know, she texts me all the time of all the stuff she sees that I do, and she's very excited for me. And so for me, I I'm really excited about this race. We got like 27 more days, so it's going to be a fun 27 days, and we'll see how this wraps up. You know, for me, taco places, obviously got to go with Mom's. Good call, Martin. Good. Hey, you took that one from me. But as in locations, Taco Carbon, that's the spot for me. I like going there. So that's the place that I go to. So that's all I got to say for now.
Great, thank you. Supervisor Steve Gallardo.
Thank you all. First of all, thank you, Monica, for hosting this. This is great. I've done a couple of these already, and it's always good to be here with LD29. This is home. I was born and raised out in Maryvale, grew up in the playgrounds in Maryvale, attended Cartwright and Starlight Park Elementary School, did Estrella and Trevor Brown, but Maryvale is home. My parents still live in the same home they bought back in 1968. I go there almost every other day now, but I still go. It's home. I'm not far from where I grew up. I'm still out here in the West Valley. I've had the honors of representing Maryvale for the most part on a number of boards, let it be on the Cartwright Elementary School Board, Phoenix Union High School Governing Board, in the House of Representatives, State Senate, and now on the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. I'm running for re-election for another 4-year term. Been there 6 years. The Board of Supervisors has done a lot to serve the people of not only District 5, but all of Maricopa County, but particularly District 5, where we have the most challenges in terms of economic and social challenges facing our families. I've been able to connect many of our families to services and programs that are offered not only by the county, but by the city and the state, programs that for the most part, many of our families never even knew were even existed. Let it be anything from workforce development, utility assistance, rental assistance, healthcare, you name it. I've had the honors of partnering up not only with the state, the city, many nonprofits, many of our school districts to do various community events throughout my district. When I first got elected, it was interesting. When I first ran for the office, I was going door to door. I was out in Central Phoenix in that Encano Park area. I'm going door to door, knocking on doors and talking to voters. And it was interesting when I was talking to folks, they weren't very familiar exactly what the county Board of Supervisors does. I mean, they had no idea the types of responsibility or tasks that were handed to us. So at that point, I decided we're going to get out of that 10th floor in downtown Phoenix. We're going to get in the community. We're going to attend every community event. I don't care if it's a neighborhood, a home tour, or a festival or some sort, but we're going to go out there. We're going to introduce our community to programs and services. We're going to get to know them, get them familiar with what Maricopa County does. For the most part, many of our residents, our families, if they have help, they're going to go to the city of Phoenix or go to their local cities before they come to the county. Even though it might be a county issue, they're going to go to the city. We're going to change that, and that's what we've done over the last 6 years. There's a lot more we still need to continue to do, anything from transportation to growing smarter. We're the 4th largest county in this country, and we continue to grow by leaps and bounds. And how we grow responsibly and making sure the services are there for our families. So it's an honor to be running one more time. I look forward to continuing to serve. And the best taco place, man, that's a tough one. I mean, I can traditionally say my mom's, but you got to look local. Raul Teresa's out in the West Valley. You got, of course, right in our backyard. You got to say Popo's, man. It's like, that's a place. You got to say Popo's. But yeah, there's a lot of places in the West Valley. So anyone who wants tacos, they can just come out to the West Valley. They'll definitely find a place.
Thank you very much. Representative Richard Andrade.
So thank you, Monica. Good evening, everyone. And it's great to be here. I mean, yes, there's nothing like doing the one-on-one contact and having our district meetings. My name is Richard Andrade, State Representative, running for my 4th term. And why am I running? Well, I'll tell you why I'm running. I'm one of those essential employees that actually had to work through this COVID-19, and seeing the fear that we had when we were going back to work or going to work. it was bad. I mean, we're talking about potentially going to work and getting COVID-19. So I do represent the workforce. I do represent how all of us in our district. And one interesting thing about many of the people here within our district, they were still going to work during this pandemic. A lot of them had those essential jobs and everything. And so it's always been about safety with me when it comes to the workplace. Safety and worker rights, worker protections, and to be able to be that person that's been the outstanding voice at the Capitol, talking about how important it is to belong to a union and taking care of employees, because we are a right to work for less state. Yes, I sponsor a lot of legislation to strengthen our employee protections, of course. Why? Because once again, we're discriminated against. We're treated poorly. We're underpaid. We don't have benefits like paid vacations, benefits like retirement. Social Security is not enough. And I always say, with low-paying jobs, you're not going to end up with anything. How many of our constituents, how many people we represent are working multiple jobs? One thing we learned is we do need paid family leave. We need paid sick time. We need to make sure that we provide child care assistance, because many families are still going to work. And where are they leaving their children? So that's one reason of many reasons. 1070, 10 years ago, that angered me. 1062 after that against our LGBTQ community, that angered me. And so when our 2 seats became available, I ran. I've been running since then. And I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing at the legislature, which is speaking out for working families. Being one of those essential employees, it's really important that we have somebody at the Capitol that continues to do that work. And the best tacos, well, right here in our very own LD 29, right here in Glendale, is Ferrardo's. They are a small business, family-owned restaurant that has been around before they were Lily's. The cook actually bought the restaurant and turned around and said, I'm going to keep the same recipes. Well, of course, he was the cook, so of course he's going to keep those same recipes. So that's my favorite place. And if you ever have an opportunity to go to Ferrardo's, it's located off 59th Avenue and Ocotillo. Great place, very good help. And like I said, it's such an honor to serve. I'm looking forward to continuing serving, because after this, then we have other things we need to take care of in our district. And transportation is one of the big ones we need to really address. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Javier Sobampo. Oh, you're on mute still.
You hear me now?
I can hear you now, yes.
I'm at a disadvantage because my district is very, very tiny compared to these guys. So the taco place that I like is not in my district. So that's unfair. But there's unos tacos. I love it. But in my district, that Carbon would have to take it. My name is Javier Sobampo. I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney going on 10 years. And why am I running? Well, before being an attorney, I was a entrepreneur. I managed and owned several companies. Economy came crashing down. It kind of slapped me around a little bit. And then instead of moping and sticking around, I said, well, why don't we do something else? And we went to law school. I've always been involved in serving the community, especially or particularly the Latino community. 99.9% of my clients are Spanish speakers or Latinos in backgrounds. That's where I thrive. That's where I operate at, and I have always done that. Why am I running for this particular district? Well, I kind of sharpened my skills 2 years ago and decided to make this for real. So I want to bring change to the district of Maryville, to the Maryville Justice Court. And the reason being, or the reason I say this, is because I had the opportunity to do a little bit of canvassing before this whole thing went down with COVID. I did a little bit of talking to the community, and what I gathered from talking to residents is that there is a change that is needed. Times change. One of the things that is very important to me and very dear to my heart is the service, that the customer service that is provided. I operate in a customer service environment, and I want to be able to bring that to the court. I am an attorney, and I have been in a situation where I have to sit at a window with the staff ignoring. I've been in a situation where I'm standing there and a client has been there asking for help, only to be just shut down and this is not what you do, but I cannot tell you what to do. I understand that no legal advice can be given by staff, but staff needs to be trained and need to be providing the resources to the residents when they need it, so they can navigate through these difficult situations that involve a case before the court. I also believe training is important for the staff, and the customer service has to be from the top down. Additionally, I am a Latino. I believe firmly in maintaining the diversity on the bench. I believe that a community outreach is important because I believe that justice of the peace has to be representative of the community he or she serves. And although a justice of the peace, if I'm elected, I cannot do, or maybe it's not appropriate for me to be doing the canvassing or the campaigning that Steve can do, Martin can do, Cesar can do. That's not what I'm talking about, but you have to be out. The people need to know who you are. And in many cases, there's opportunities where you can work as a justice of the peace. You have a lot of power to help the community. I don't think either all of the positions here have such a direct impact on somebody's life as an eviction action or a DUI. And those are the cases that will come before the court. So I believe that I can take the skills I have, use the power of the office to help educate, and in some cases change behaviors when the need arises. But I want to bring change to the District of Maryvale, and that is why I'm running.
Great, thank you so much. And last but certainly not least, Representative Cesar Chavez.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Maritza, for setting this up, for keeping us all together and keeping a message of consistency for the voters of Legislative District 29. It is my greatest honor to serve each and every one of you in LD 29. My name is Cesar Chavez. I grew up in Maryvale, and I'm finishing up my second term in the state legislature. And the reason why I'm running and why I have ran in the past is because of the diversity that exists in our district. The individuals that live, play, and work in Legislative District 29 are some of the most committed individuals to the state of Arizona, and which is why we've brought forth on behalf of my office and on behalf of our platform, many issues that are important to Legislative District 29, from accessibility to healthcare and ensuring that everybody has an opportunity to it by making it more affordable and expanding kids care at the state legislature, to workforce development, pushing legislation like project labor agreements and ensuring that there is investment in Legislative District 29. Making sure that we continue to expand on that diversity and protecting the individuals that live within it by expanding on the conversation to fully fund education, public education, ensuring that our educators are being respected the way that they should be and that they can provide the tools necessary so that our students can be successful. That is obviously a conversation that needs to continue, just like expanding on healthcare, just like bringing more investment to the West Valley. One that I feel very proud of is leading many conversations to bringing forth over 1,500 jobs to the West Valley, from having conversations with businesses like White Claw, like Red Bull, and Microsoft. The first year I was named the Small Business Champion by the Arizona Small Business Association, one that I take it very to heart because the great majority of the businesses in our district are small businesses and owned by individuals who could only dream of owning their own business. And today they are small business owners. Now, the pandemic has definitely left much to be desired in terms of what it is that we have done wrong as a legislature and what it is that we as Democrats can do to fix the turmoil that the Republican Party has left in the majority of almost 50 years. Now, as Senator Quesada mentioned, we are on the brink of being in the majority, and serving in the majority will definitely bring us to the table to be able to create definite change, not only to our district, but to the entire state of Arizona. All of these issues, the issues most important to your everyday Arizonan, are those that are important to Legislative District 29, and of which I will continue to expand on it. My favorite taco shop in Legislative District 29 is actually a small cart with a tent over it on 59th Avenue in Camelback, Taqueria La Cata. Delicious tacos, delicious homemade salsa, but we have great businesses in the state of Arizona and in the legislative district 29. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody, for introducing yourselves, for the introductions. If I apologize, I was muted. Every now and then when you see me looking down, I'm getting questions. So for our viewing audience, please know that you can go on to the chat function and you can ask questions. The questions will be seen by myself and Maritza Saenz, she's the other moderator, and all of the panelists. So I do have a couple questions we're going to start with, and they're questions for everybody. You will get 2 minutes to answer the question. And the first question, we have a couple questions here, and we're going to be very mindful of time. So at 2 minutes, I think Maritza has the power to mute people, and I may have her invoke that power. So I will, while you're talking, get a piece of paper. I will hold it up that says 30 seconds. And so make sure you keep an eye on me. But for those watching, I'm writing down any questions you put up there, and we will try to get things going. So the first question is, let's say it is January and you have already won your seat. What are you going to champion in the legislature? Senator Quesada.
Sure. So there's a lot of issues that I would champion in the legislature, and I've tried to be on top of a lot of those issues for my entire career. Being that I am an attorney as well, like Mr. Sobampo, I would most likely be focusing my efforts in the Judiciary Committee. So in the Judiciary Committee, we deal with a lot of criminal justice issues and elections issues. So those are the two that I would probably put most of my energy behind in that committee. And so by that, what I mean by that is criminal justice reform, decreasing our prison population, taking away the power of private prisons and their ability to continue incarcerating people of color in our community for profit. For one, decriminalizing a lot of laws that we have that make that put too many of us behind bars for crimes that are nonviolent or that are the result of poverty or the result of mental illness or substance abuse. And then aside from criminal justice reform, elections issues, I want to have a safe and modern election system that is available to everybody. I want to have automatic voter registration. I want to have same-day voter registration. And I want to make sure that we eliminate a lot of the barriers that our state has enacted in front of voters over the last several years. So elections and criminal justice reform are the two things that I would focus on the most, but there are many, many others.
Thank you very much. Thank you for staying within the time. Teddy Castro, what would you champion once you get into the legislature? You're still on mute.
I don't know who's controlling mute or not. So, so the first thing I would champion for myself is to ensure education stability is in place, because with COVID-19 happening, there's a lot of issues that are going to be arising due to the fact that education is not going to be supported the same way as it always been in the past, because there's a lot of new learning factors and curves that are going to be created and implemented in the schools. And I don't think at this point it's really believable to the community of how their kids are going to be able to sustain in this COVID environment through education. So for me, it's to make sure that that stability and the funding continues as well as gets increased to ensure, because our kids are important. They're the future of our generation. We got to make sure that, especially in LD29, we seem to get overlooked quite a bit. Even when I was growing up, I feel like that we don't have the same shot and the same opportunity as everybody else. And so for me, talking to families out there, being in real estate and, not just getting to know families by door to door. I know families by how much they make, who's in charge in the family, who's making the financial decision, who's making the home decision, who's going to be, making the money and how they're going to spend it. And when you get to personal questions like that, you start to learn exactly what's missing in our community. And I've done that thousands of times with a lot of people throughout our district, over the 1,000 homes I sold in real estate in the last 17 years. So that's a big thing for me, and, at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that our kids are taken care of, and that, which is my kids and everybody else's kids.
Thank you very much. Next, Supervisor Steve Gallardo. You're still on mute.
All right. Come 2021, I think the issue of COVID-19 is still going to be front and center. I mean, you're seeing it now, and we have not even hit the second wave. I believe we're going to still see not only an economic impact at the state level, our local levels, our national levels. We're going to still be reading the front. But you have to stop and think, even outside of COVID-19, the impact it's had. And you're seeing it now, right now in Maryville now, where you're seeing families that are moving in with each other because they can't afford their rent or they've been laid off. Many of the folks that are in LD 29, I can tell you right now, are in the service industry. And what industry is right now being shut down? The service industry. So you take away that safety net that's provided right now by the federal government by the end of the month, you're going to see some families struggling come August. So I think dealing with COVID, not only from a health crisis, but an economic crisis, I think housing will continue to be the #1 issue facing our community. Families are, prior COVID, were being priced out of apartments, being priced out of just renting or owning a home. And now it's going to be doubled with the whole COVID crisis. So I think housing is going to be a must. How do we get our families back to work? How do we get them through maybe a workforce development program, get them retrained? How do we get them back into their home? I think housing is going to be the #1 issue facing not only LD 29, but many of the legislative districts. So dealing with COVID, dealing with housing, two top issues.
Thank you very much. On to Representative Andrade. Please unmute.
Thank you, Monica, for that question and everything. And of course, I'm going to continue to champion what I've always championed: working families, strengthen our unions, because we all know the pathway to livable wages, quality, affordable health care, pensions, vacations, and everything like that is the pathway is through unions. Because once again, this COVID-19 is putting a new face with the number of our brothers and sisters that are out of work with Unite Here because they're in the hospitality industry, making sure that they have the resources, which means we're going to have to start investing into the Housing Trust Fund and making sure that we take care of our seniors when it comes to the issue of more funding into our homeless youth. Once again, more funding for these services. We cannot keep going in the direction that we're doing. So we need to do something about it. And the only way we're going to be able to address that is through gaining the majority and addressing these. I'm going to continue to be a champion for our veterans because I have gotten legislation through for our veterans. Why? Everybody cheers when we go to war, but nobody cheers when our veterans come home and they have PTSD. I don't call it PTSD, I call it PTSI, post-traumatic stress injuries, because what they suffered during the war. They need services. And we'll continue, of course, education. We're all education champions, but having an endorsement by AEA really shows that I am a champion for education and many educators. Being able to help them and making sure that we continue to fully fund education, because we're not even at the tip. Like I said, so many things to do, so many issues that we need to tackle at the state level and everything, and having the knowledge on what we need to do in order to become successful. That's what I'm going to be there for, to continue doing the work I'm doing to champion these causes that we really desperately need in our state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I'm not sure that Javier can answer that with regard to his office. However, I'm going to ask anyways.
Well, I am unmuted. Champion item #1, keep politics out of the court. #2, however, I mean, I know that I'm a Democrat. I'm running as a Democrat, but I do understand and believe firmly that once a justice of the peace, a judge in general, puts on that robe, blind to any party affiliation, sex, religion, none of that stuff. So that would be one of the items that I would champion. At the same time, to the extent that there is some power that the JP has, I would really like to look into some other resources I believe someone mentioned drug court or involved investing money, not necessarily in putting people in jail, but in other programs such as mental health and so forth. Well, something similar to that. The Superior Court, where I practice every single day, it seems like they have drug court. You know, the family division has resources for mental illness and resources for other stuff. Why does the JP not have something similar or related? Because if a person appears before the judge on a criminal case, we have to look beyond that. Not only in Maryvale, not only do we need to consider cultural differences that may, that must be taken into account, but there's also other ways that people can be helped, not necessarily with a fine or a sentence of jail time. So I really believe in that. I have not explored those issues or those situations, but I really would like to do so once I'm on the bench.
Great. Thank you very much. And Representative Chavez.
Some of the issues that I'm looking to continue to champion is pandemic recovery. What it is that we need to do to bring forth at the state legislature to ensure that individuals are getting tested, that people have access to those tests, and furthermore, education on how we can stop the spread of COVID-19. Secondly, that kind of ties in is accessibility to healthcare. Being able to expand on what we currently have, fix the problems that are currently in our system, but more so fill the gap of what I would like to call human equity, which means providing resources to the LGBT plus community and protections for them, expanding on a woman's right to choose and being able to make their own decisions for their bodies. And one of the ones that I definitely have a very special place in my heart is providing resources for mental health care and being able to help those that need it, especially those that have served our military. And also, a huge problem that I think has been repeated here is affordable housing. Being able to provide our organizations that are out in the front line, being able to provide them with the funds necessary to be able to provide affordable housing, and building strategies that are more logical than what we've had in the past, to be able to avoid individuals from going homeless, to avoid from children living on the streets. This is the United States of America. It's very unconscionable when we see such a growth in our homeless population. And those are actually the topics that we need to tackle if we really want a thriving economy and if we really want a thriving workforce.
Thank you very much. I think you guys, everyone had some very good answers, and certainly something that really impresses upon me. Next question. We're going to start with dark money. Dark money is something that started out as dirty money. And for any of our viewers that may not know what that is, it's money that comes in to a specific organization, a PAC, and it is money that is funneled where we can't see where it comes from. And we see it a lot. It plays largely here in Arizona. And there's different ways that dark money comes in. So one of the things that we like to know, and it's been asked here already by somebody else, is how are you raising money? And would you accept dark money? Would you accept money from an organization where it's not necessarily something that is in the best interest of our community? Money that comes in from outside of our community. Let's start again with Senator Quesada.
Yeah, no, I think that this is one of the most critical issues that we will have to address, not only in our state, but in our nation, in order to restore kind of our democratic values and take out the power and the corrupting influence of money out of our political system. Being that I am an attorney and I will be working on the Judiciary Committee, this is an issue that will fall right within my wheelhouse. So it's something I will have to deal with. But to answer the question, I'm very proud that over my entire career as a public servant, my average political contribution, this includes everything from a single donation up to and including PAC contributions, my average contribution has always been less than $40. That means that most of my contributions are from individuals, from the people who support my campaign. I'm very, very proud of that. Although I know that dark money plays a role in our politics, I am not a big fan of it. I don't have any say over whether it is used in my campaign, but if I had my choice, I would keep it out entirely. And so I urge all dark money to not get involved in my campaign or in my race, either in support of me or in opposition to my opponent, because I would rather win on my merits. I would rather win on my policy stances, and I would rather the people know exactly who my supporters are and who my financial contributors are. Thank you.
Okay, and then I was muted. I keep telling everybody else, I apologize. Next, Teddy Castro.
Candidate running at this level. So the majority of my campaign funds have all been donations from a lot of friends and family, the community, school principals, school leaders. A lot of people have contributed to my campaign. The part about dark money, I haven't been involved long enough to know how much that has affected my campaign or not. I only align with people that I feel that I have a connection with and will accept any funds from them. And if it is a PAC, it's because I have an alignment in the fact that what they believe in is something that I believe in, and it's something that I know that, you know, they'd be heavily invested in the community one way or another. Otherwise, if they're not invested in the community that I'm supporting and running for, I don't feel that there needed to be a place into my campaign. So at the end of the day, you know, majority of my funds come from, you know, just regular people in the community that support what I'm about, who I'm about, and what I'm going to do when I'm elected.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Steve Gallardo. You're on mute still.
All right, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, but I think we'd all agree that dark money needs to be outlawed. But I'd take it a step further. I think you definitely need campaign finance reform in Arizona. Period. Over the last, even when I was there in the state Senate, the campaign finance laws have been gutted, where they took out the teeth and the penalties that were put in state law back in the 90s. That was taken out. Whereas now it's mostly civil fines and penalties. We need to put the teeth back into our campaign finance laws. We need to gut it. We need to cap the amount of monies that are given to candidates, either by a political action committee or an individual donor. We need lobbyist reform. Those are in other areas that need to be looked at. So outside of dark money, yes, let's ban it, but let's also look at campaign finance reform. Let's expand clean elections, where it's not just state legislature. Let's expand it to our city races and our county races, even our JP courts. Perfect area in which clean elections should be expanded. Yes, it's going to probably have to be an initiative. I don't see the votes coming out of the legislature in order to change that portion of our Constitution, but I really believe that yes, we need to ban and outlaw dark money, but we need to look even further. Let's look at lobbyist reform, campaign finance reform, and let's expand clean election funding to outside offices other than state.
Thank you very much. Representative Andrade.
Thank you, Monica. Great question, because you know what? It's shameful that there is dark money, an IE that's playing into our politics in LD29. Revitalize Arizona has already invested $45,833 in somebody's race. And it's shameful because, once again, special interests playing a part in our politics that aren't even in our district. Where do I get all my contributions? Of course, from unions, union PACs, because like a union member like me, I pay into my own PAC as well. So when I get contributions from even residents and from constituents from LD29, a lot of money comes from organizations that support progressive Democrats as well. And because I am a progressive Democrat, we need to expose, because Revitalize Arizona is playing politics not only in our district, but also LD26. Their whole design is to take out progressive Democrats, to take out union members. And what am I fighting for? I'm fighting for us, for working families, because we need a voice to be the champion and to be the loudest voice on labor is such an honor. And when I was labeled a union thug, I took that with a badge of honor. So when it comes to what's going on in LD 29, we really need to have a lot of campaign reform, campaign finance reform, like Supervisor Gallardo said earlier. Because whose interest do you really have at heart when you had that? Is it the constituents? Is it the people we represent? Or are you going to be a champion for that one that's putting that much money into your campaigns? So, and anybody wants to see the campaign finance reports on that, on Revitalize Arizona, please email me because I have all that information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Javier.
Well, I follow the sentiment of anybody that has spoken already against dark money. I believe it was Representative Gallardo who said, or Steve Gallardo, who said that even the JP races are affected by that. I can tell you that PACs should have no business in the JP races. The JP races are small races of people that want to serve the small community they represent. How am I funding my campaign? It's me, myself, and I. And I will correct myself to say that there was a person who I believe made a donation of $50 who later became part of my campaign. So we had to disclose it. But really, seriously, I mean, I am a person who saw firsthand how a PAC can use all of their money, which who knows where they came from, where it came from, to attack a justice of the peace candidate, for God's sakes. What does a Republican PAC have to do with the interest of a small justice of the peace race? But it happens, and it happens at all levels. And I don't agree with that, but until some aggressive legislation happens, as Mr. Gallardo was saying, we're going to have to deal with it. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I'm against it. But then again, at this point, there's not much I can do.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Representative Chavez.
Dark money definitely influences our elections here in the state of Arizona. And that's why I endorse the Outlaw Dirty Money campaign, because it's an initiative that's very much needed, as Supervisor Gallardo mentioned, to change a lot of the campaign finance reforms that need to be changed within our Arizona state constitution. And so when I'm doing call time, when I'm calling individuals who have contributed or will contribute to my campaign, it's your local teacher, it's my neighbor, it's my family, those individuals that I grew up with in Maryville. And those contributions are $20, $50. And that's how I can be held accountable, and how I will continue to build a grassroots campaign, ensuring that we can collectively talk to those individuals within our community. So another collaboration that I would say needs to continue happening is our Secretary of State has definitely been very transparent in the fact that we need to make these changes at a state level. So I will continue to collaborate with Secretary Hobbs to ensure that dark money has no place in the state of Arizona.
Thank you very much. And on my screen, Senator Quesada moved. So, and somebody's moving again. So, but you already answered the question? Okay, just making sure. Thank you. Because I'm going by what I see. So let's see. Now we have some questions from other people. And one of the things was that someone pointed out is Judge Anna Huberman is not being run. She's not being targeted by Javier Sobampo. She is running in Country Meadows. He is running in Maryvale, and she wanted that very clear. So thank you for that, and happy to make that clarification. Let's see. One of the questions I saw was, and this is for each of you, what is your history with labor and your dedication to the labor community? And now everyone's kind of moved around like cards. We'll start with Teddy Castro.
An entrepreneur most of my life, even as a young man, and worked in corporate world, as well as I've been a real estate broker 17 years. and in the real estate industry for over 20 years. So the most connection I've had with labor is family, friends. They've all, I'd say at least 80% of them, somewhat or another, work for labor, whether it's a local, state, or federal. And they all have the same viewpoints of, they want to make sure that they make more money. They want to make sure their jobs are protected, that they have, incomes that thrive through all economies. They also want to make sure that they have protection in pensions, as well as, future incentives for them. So, I mean, who doesn't want all that? So when it comes to union laborers, I mean, I'm totally behind them. I want to make sure that my community works. I want to make sure that they're out there building buildings, so that the people that are not in the union sector are working at the jobs of the buildings that they built, so that they have opportunities and make more income. And instead of driving across the valley of Scottsdale, Chandler, Tempe, Mesa, why not drive more west towards the White Tanks and the 303, where they have a lot of industry, a lot of distribution, a lot of manufacturing being put in place, as well as in Buckeye, so that these data centers that are being built, they're out there for a reason, so that they can have more jobs, so that our communities can stop driving 45 minutes to an hour and a half and actually work, and actually drive 20 to 30 minutes to work, and keep the money flowing within our district, as well as within our neighboring districts, because as a whole, we are the West Valley. We are the jewel of the Valley. So I want to make sure that all of our labor, all of our trade laborers, all of our UPS, USPS, FedEx, there's a lot of labor unions out there that I support. I make sure, because they are my family and friends. So at the end of the day, that's where I stand on it.
Thank you very much. Next, and before we go on, if you are labor, if you're part of a union, please state that as well. In all transparency, I am union. I am a member of AFSCME. I am a member of AZPOA, the Arizona Probation Officer Association, and I'm also a member of Pride at Work. So LD 29 is very, very strong with labor. Our PCs are very labor oriented. And as Maritza will tell you, if we are in a meeting, MCDP, the first thing I'm telling people is, where is your union bug? Because people are going to look for it, they seek it out, and they will call you to the floor on it. So Teddy, yes or no, do you belong to any labor union? No, okay. Next, Supervisor Steve Gallardo, my union brother.
Definitely. I was born in a labor family. I have always been, even when I first started my professional career, I started off at Maricopa County Elections Department, and I think I was the only AFSCME dues paying member in the office. But I was a dues paying member, and it was interesting. When I first got elected, I left the county to run for the state legislature, for the state house in 2000. And when I got there, if you remember David Mendoza, good AFSCME guy, he was the lobbyist for AFSCME there at the Capitol. And I told him, hey, bring me a card. I will sign it, and I'll be a dues paying member of the legislature. And the House, they kept telling me that, like, the rules attorney kept telling, oh, you can't be a dues paying member. I said, well, tell me where in state statute that says I cannot be a dues paying member as a member of the legislature. And I said, I'm signing it. I don't give a damn. And I signed it, and they couldn't stop it. They wanted to stop it, but they couldn't stop it. But I have always been a lifelong member of a labor organization. I totally support the idea of workers being represented collectively, to be able to look after themselves, to represent themselves, to be able to make sure that they have the resources and the health care and the retirement, the benefits that they richly deserve. I was proud to be the chairman of the minimum wage campaign in 2006 when we established the first minimum wage. We set a bar for minimum wage. I'm proud to be 10 years later to join the campaign with Lucha to increase the minimum wage. And I was honored in 2015 to receive the Arizona AFL-CIO Elected Official Leader of the Year Award. It was the first time they ever gave it out. I was honored to being that particular member. I think our good friend Richard Andrade here, he was, I can't remember what year you were named, but you were a couple years after me. But yes, strongly supportive of labor, will continue to be a card-carrying member.
Thank you very much. And let me reset here. Representative Andrade, you're next.
Thank you, sister, because I am a union member with Smart TD. I've been one for 26 years, and currently in my role as being a union member, I am a union officer as well. I am the legislative representative in my lodge, in my local 1081, and the vice local chairman for the engineers committee. So I've been involved with the union and everything. And of course, that's why all my legislation, which is crafted to support unions, has come from every single union, from AFSCME with your MOUs, from Teamsters Local 104 with CWA and UFCW Local 99. And I'm proud to announce I have been endorsed by a large majority of our unions, by MALF, Maricopa Area Labor Federation, UFCW Local 99, Professional Firefighters of Arizona, AEA, Sheet Metal Local 359, Smart TD, Communication Workers of America, CWA, IBEW Local 640, from all the AFSCMEs locals, Teamsters Local 104, National Association of Letter Carriers, which I sponsor that bill as well. Don't privatize the Postal Service. I am union. I breathe it. I live it every single day. I know our challenges. We need to expand our unions, because at one time when our country had a strong middle class because we had strong unions. And that's what I bring to the Capitol once again, bringing that back, because when our middle class was strong, our unions were strong. And in order for our middle class to be back to the strength it was before, we need to make sure that we take care of our unions and invest and make sure that we bring our unions back. And with that, thank you.
Thank you very much. Javier.
Okay, I'm not a dues-paying member of any union. I do, however, believe in the power of numbers when people that need representation or that are in a group that needs powers to make their voices heard. I believe in that. I grew up I'm the child of seasonal farm workers. So the closest that I have come to the unions is remembering my mom and my dad belonging or joining or assisting those events that were promoted by the Asociación de Campesinos, some of the movements that Cesar Chavez is known for. So yes, I come from a little rural town of San Luis, Arizona, where a large majority of them are seasonal farm workers, work in the lettuce, work in the fields. So yes, I believe in that. And the reason that I tell you I believe in that is because my signs will have a bug on them. If you look at them, they have it, a union bug. Now, I could have had it done somewhere else, but I believe in it. I believe that people that are part of the union are the ones that should be getting this kind of work. So I had my signs printed by them.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you. Representative Chavez, you're next.
Thank you, Monica. Definitely, although I'm not a union member, I do support our union brothers and sisters in ensuring that they have a place at the table to be able to bargain for collective wage and prevailing wages, that they have the opportunity to represent their members and affiliatives, and be able to come to a day in which Arizona is no longer a right to work state. I think that that's a place in which we all want to be because of the great passion and the efficiency that our unions have. I'm very happy to have worked on the project labor agreement legislation and be able to get it 1 inch closer to getting signed and bringing it forth to a committee so that union members can come in and testify on why we really need that. On the jobs that I've worked on to bring to the West Valley, my first question is, will you allow union labor? Will you hire union? Will you allow them to come to the table and negotiate with you all? And many of those jobs have resulted in unions being able to come to the table and receive those jobs for their members. So it's definitely an ongoing effort one that I have received much education on, one that I have really had the pleasure of sitting down with union members, our backbone for Arizona's economy, and I will continue to support them.
Thank you very much. Senator Quesada.
Yes, no, I have a family history of union activity, and it started way back in 1983 when I was out picketing for the Communication Workers of America when AT&T went on strike right here in Maryvale. They used to be, AT&T's headquarters used to be right there on 67th Avenue and Camelback, and I was out there because my tia worked for AT&T, and she went out on strike. And I was 5 years old at the time, 6 years old at the time, but that was my first experience being involved in a labor movement. And I learned a lot being out there. Had a lot of fun. I didn't understand it completely, but I learned a lot more about it later as I got older. In 1997, UPS went on strike. I happened to work at UPS at the time. And when I first joined UPS as an employee, I joined the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. So I was a Teamster. So I went out on strike, and I can tell you, I understood a lot more about why we were going on strike at UPS at that time. And then the wage increase that we were able to win, the benefits package that we were able to win because of that, really taught me a lot about labor movements. And it made me be committed to the labor movement and just for working families in general. Later, once I got into public office. When I did get into public office, a guy, you may have heard of him, his name's Steve Gallardo. He told me that I should join AFSCME, and I did. I joined AFSCME first as a staffer when I was staffing the legislature, and then later as an elected official, I joined as well. So I'm a proud member today. I've been endorsed by many other unions, AEA, AFL-CIO, the AFT, CWA, and many others, and I will continue to be a supporter of the labor movement and working families.
Thank you very much. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of my union brothers and sisters. Next question, we have 2 more questions. I'm going to kind of keep these brief because I have some other questions to ask as well. The next question is, how would you put pressure on the governor to extend the $600 CARES unemployment money? That's scheduled to stop, I think, at the end of this month, or is it the end of this month? Okay, Teddy Castro.
There we go, got it. Well, for me, I feel that that's definitely helped our community. It's definitely been a big part of what has stabilized somewhat and gave some security to some of our members of the community. However, the $600 is only just a start. There's a lot of things that need to be done for businesses that are out there, as well as for home ownership, as well as for commercial building owners that are out there. And with that in play, Ducey has a full plate. I don't, me not being in legislation, I don't know how much I would actually have to be able to connect to have that conversation. And I don't know how much he's actually discussing with anybody else. But I know at this point, with COVID, he's really been, concentrating on how to keep businesses open and making sure how we can protect our community. But at the same time, the $600 is definitely a big play for a lot of people. And at the same time, a lot of people have not been going to work because at some point they've actually made more money not going to work on that as well as not. And unfortunately, there's people out there that utilize that to the wrong perspective, but there's a lot of people that do need it.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Steve Gallardo.
Oh man, I think that it's definitely a must. And I think you touched on it, Monica. The end of the month, things are going to come to a head. 2 things are going to come, and this would our JP candidate. The evictions are going to start come August 1st. That moratorium goes away that the governor assigned a few months ago. He needs to extend that. He's already extended the unemployment all the way to the end of the year. Unfortunately, the unemployment insurance in Arizona is only $240. The $600 additional that came out of the third stimulus package or second stimulus package that goes away at the end of the month. So I think through a stroke of a pen, he can extend that unemployment insurance to back to 800 or so, or 840, however he wants to do it. He's already extended the unemployment timeline to the end of the year. Now let's extend the amount. Let's extend the moratorium on evictions. Let us get through this pandemic. It is a must, and I think that has to be political pressure, not only by us as candidates, but the general public. This is politics, and unfortunately, unless he is feeling the pressure by the public, he probably won't do it. But we have to continue that pressure. We can't let up. We need to start advocating for our families. LD 29, LD 30, LD 19, LD 27. These are the communities, the families are going to be hit the hardest when that moratorium goes away, and when that unemployment comes from 840 down to 240. Our families are going to be suffering a lot, and they're not.
Yes, they are. Thank you very much. Representative Andrade, you're next.
Thank you, Monica. First of all, that $600 isn't enough. And then earlier, it was stated about the $240. Do you know all the surrounding states, their unemployment benefit is higher than us? Even California is the lowest, but still higher than us. So we need to increase that benefit from $240 to over 400 or whatever we need to increase it to. As far as people that are struggling, we need to make sure that we continue funding it because they are struggling. They're struggling to keep the lights on. Look how hot it is this summer, which relates to, this is one of the warmest summers we're going through. They're predicting in the this weekend to be in 116. Really, how much does electrical cost? How much does utilities cost? Once again, we're gonna have people that are gonna start hurting here pretty quick, between housing, between putting food on the table. We need to make sure that we keep pressuring the governor to make sure that people in our district are gonna have these benefits. Because when you're really struggling, and if you hit the number of doors like I have, and you see people really struggling, it makes you wonder. It makes you, either you're not talking to the right people because everybody I see, they need it. So we need to make sure that we continue on and making sure that we keep funding and even pressure. And that's what we're going to do when we become the majority, because we need to start having these discussions and making sure that we're taking care of our constituents because they are struggling. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Javier.
I believe the question of how I would pressure the governor to do what the question asked is above my pay grade. But I would, however, be contacting people like Supervisor Gallardo and people that are on this panel to make that happen. What can I do as a JP of Maryvale? Well, Supervisor Gallardo is right. The JP is going to get the brunt of the evictions. Now, I will tell you that when the governor issued the first proclamation, I was attentive to the news. And I was very, very disappointed that the JP of Maryvale, where the good number of the people, the constituents of that district are low income individuals, he waffled back and forth as to what kind of position he was going to take on delaying some of those evictions. I take that very personally. Now, I do know that we have to, at the end of the day, a judge is there to uphold the law. However, there are some very minute levels of discretion that can be exercised. Additionally, I will tell you that I will take, as the Justice of the Peace for Maryvale, I will take a very dim view of anyone that uses the pandemic to take advantage of people that are in dire straits and to get them evicted. I believe that is unjust, unreasonable, immoral. And of course, I would apply the law, but I would take a very dim view of anybody that wants to take advantage. And by the way, yes, Judge Huberman, I've been before her. I'm not running against her. She's awesome, very respectful, humble, but nothing to say about Judge Huberman.
Thank you. We love her too. Senator Quesada.
I also love Judge Huberman. Yeah, so this unemployment money, the $600, I do want to counter one thing that was said, that that some people are using this money the wrong way. Let's keep in mind how much money this is. $240 a month is all that Arizona provides for somebody who is unemployed. If you are a person who is looking to take advantage of the $240 benefit that Arizona gives out, that's nonsense. Nobody is doing that. That won't get you anywhere. Even when you add the $600 on top of that, that's a total of $840 a month. What can you do with $840 a month? Can any of you pay your rent with $840 a month? I sure as hell can't. So this isn't going to get people very far at all. I also want to remind everyone that this is your money. This is the taxpayers' money. This is why we pay taxes, so that the government can come in to assist us when we are going through times of trouble like this, like during this pandemic right now. So this is our money that we should be getting back for exactly this reason. The way I would pressure the governor is to do exactly what we've been doing to this point, myself and Representative Andrade and all the other members of the legislature. Call for a special session. We want that special session now. We want to increase the unemployment benefits right now. We want to provide for it so that it can carry people through tough times and not entrap them in more poverty. Because when you have the amounts that low, you're going to trap people in poverty. You're going to end up getting them evicted and going before future Judge Sobampo. We can't have that. So we need to pressure the governor to call us in a special session.
Thank you very much. And Representative Chavez.
First, we need to state the statistics. The median income in Legislative District 29 is about $30,000. The median income in the state of Arizona is about $41,000, and the median income in the country is $44,000. $600, $250, it's not enough. It's not enough to buy medication. It's not enough to feed your family. It's not enough to get your children from point A to point B. And so what we need to do to pressure the governor is to continue to advocate for the individuals that we represent, and ensuring that he needs to fully understand where we're at, the current state of our legislative district and the current state of our people. As the governor, he should never be busy enough for his entire constituency. There is never enough work for the constituency of the state of Arizona. So to build the case, to create pressure, and to ensure that we're fully representing those individuals within our legislative district is beyond important. So I would say that creating a case by stating the statistics of the realities that these families exist, and as I've done many times, invite the governor and invite members of the Republican Party to our district so that they can see exactly the state of the district. It's not because they have misrepresentation. It's because we have a majority controlled by the Republicans, and they continue to carve out education funding. They continue to carve out affordable health care. And as we're seeing now, they are continuing to carve out benefits for those individuals who have paid into our tax system and deserve these resources.
Thank you very much. There's a few questions we have for specific people, and I'm going to ask those now. And if we have the opportunity to ask more of the general questions, we will do that. So I got a text here that says, and I'm going to read it. I got a text from Revitalize Arizona urging a vote for Teddy and Caesar. Is Caesar getting support from this group, and are they running as a slate? So I think Teddy and Caesar, you guys can answer that question.
If I may, Monica.
Please.
Okay, thank you. I did see a report today when I was doing some call time that there has been some money put in on my behalf, and it's money that I did not request. It's support that I have not requested, and that I have no say or control over it. What I will say is that I am running on my values. I am running to represent the constituency of Legislative District 29. And no, I'm not running on a slate with Mr. Castro. I am running on my own merits to represent the constituency of Legislative District 29.
Thank you very much.
And as for myself, no, I'm not running on a slate with Caesar at all. I'm running because I'm I've been in this district so long. I know what I've gone through as an individual and what I see the community, what they're going through as families that I come across all the time. You know, I've had donations made to me, but not to the point of where I'm working with anybody to make sure that I get elected. I ran on this all on my own. I made the decision. You know, being the president of NAHREP, National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals in 2019, you know, I decided that I wanted to make a difference in my community, and this is why I'm running. In regards to any of that, I don't know, you know, where that's coming from.
Thank you very much. There's a couple questions here in the chat. This is for Javier. If you are elected JP and recreational marijuana is legalized, will you move to expunge the records of folks in Maryvale with non-violent marijuana-related charges?
That's a lot of ifs. But I do believe, I used to work during my law school years. I worked as a prosecutor, assistant prosecutor under Rule 38 in one of the communities here. The prosecutor, my mentor, was an awesome individual. He is now a judge. And one of the things that I did when I was working as a prosecutor is look for ways that within the law were creative to allow people to get a second chance. One of the things that I never wanted to do was burn the future of a young individual who comes before the court on a charge that, you know, shoplifting, for example. That goes on your record. We don't know what effects it's going to have in the future for you. And that kind of stuff is something that I would look into. Now, expungements, I've done them. As a practicing attorney, I do them when I believe in them and when I believe the individual warrants them or there's a merit for that request to the judge. To answer the question a little bit more directly, the answer would be that I will look at every case on a one-to-one basis. Not everyone that committed a crime deserves an expungement.
Thank you very much. Okay, this next one is for Teddy. In your bio, you state that you are a real estate broker. Why did you not get the endorsement of the Arizona Board of Realtors? You're on mute.
Yeah, as a real estate broker, I contacted the AAR, you know, as a member of them for the last 17 years, and I asked them that exact question. What they said is they only stand with the incumbent standing legislators. They don't look outside to look at any, even though I'm a realtor, there's other realtors that are running for seats that I was actually on a town hall earlier today with, and they don't actually endorse any of them. They only go for the voting record, which obviously I don't have a voting record legislature, and that's all they go by. They don't go by, and if they voted positively for realtor issues and concerns, that's what they made their endorsements by, solely on that, not based on if they're a realtor or not. And so if I was in office, obviously, you know, once I get past the primaries, they're like, we want to sit down and talk to you ASAP because now we can endorse you because now you're running for an office and you don't have any other option, anybody else you're going to because the seats are going to be open now.
Thank you. I'm going through a couple other questions. There's another one here for Javier. Are you in support of legalized recreational marijuana? Loaded question.
I think my personal views are not necessarily relevant because when a case of paraphernalia or any misdemeanor that comes before the court, my personal views should not and will not affect my decision. I will, however, tell you this. I practice a good chunk of my practices in the family court. And in family court, we have situations in which marijuana is involved and there's children involved. And I understand how judges are moving and our laws are moving in favor of it. And I would tend to say that I kind of follow that pattern. However, if you ask me if someone who's using marijuana, whether legal or not, has an impact on a minor child, whether because it impairs the ability of the person taking care of the child or driving with the child. My view changes when that happens. But as a whole, in the whole context, I believe that our society, our legal world is moving to the legalization of marijuana, and I would follow that as well, to the extent that I can.
Thank you. Here's another question. It looks like we're going to go back and forth with questions for Teddy Castro and Javier because people don't know you as much. This question here, I will try to bring it together because it's a big question. I read in your bio that you have been involved in grassroots movements. Get ready for this. Give me details what you did for education. Did you support Save Our Schools and Invest in Ed? What did you do with the Red for Ed march that supported teachers and students? Do your children attend public, private, or charter schools? And what have you done in support of the DACA kids?
Okay. So first of all, my kids go to public school. Okay. I ran for the Litchfield Elementary School Board in 2016. I didn't win a seat. However, I did get about 8,500 votes in that race. When the grassroots that I have done is, as a real estate community, a lot of me and my partners every year throughout the year, except for this year because of COVID, is that we go out and we raise funds as well as items needed in needed schools, such as in the Garfield district, such as the Cartwright district. We've provided playground equipment. We've had the Coyotes donate. We've had the Suns donate. We've had the Cardinals donate. And because a lot of their playground equipment have been very, worn and used, and us as individuals, we know, especially me, I've been a coach for kids. I've coached my kids in football and sports and baseball. And I know that it's important for kids to have that outside environment to be able to express themselves, to interact with their friends, and have a sports life community, because, if you're able to build that, you're able to grow in the schools, you're able to have a good education, whether it's for sports or academics. And so for me, that's what I've done, and it's nothing that it's an organization or anything that we've created that's, a .org or anything. It's just something that we've done with a lot of real estate professionals, because we know we want to make sure that kids in need have what they need in their playgrounds. And that's the biggest part. And for me, I'm not for charters at all. I feel like, they're a big attraction to something that is negative to our community. And I'm not sure if I got it all in there because there was a lot in there.
I think let's see, did you support Save Our Schools and Invest in Ed?
I always support. I mean, I wouldn't run for Litchfield School Board if I didn't do that. I've had a lot of teachers and principals that donate to my campaign, and they don't have to do that. They support somebody that I know that is out there that's going to be a champion for a voice for them out there in the community. So absolutely.
And did you march for Red for Ed?
Absolutely did.
Okay, thank you. We have a question for Supervisor Steve Gallardo. The question is, what is one of the ways that the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors impacts the lives of people in LD 29 that they may not be aware of?
Wow. There's a lot of areas, but one that I haven't brought up, but I do want to bring it up because of our JP candidate. One of the things that we are actually going to probably pass in the next 2 weeks, and that is allowing home detention. This will allow the JPs to actually select home detention rather than sending someone to jail. So that's a tool in the toolbox that the judges will have. As you know, the JPs have great discretion. Our previous sheriff, Mr. Arpaio, was opposed to it, and our previous county attorney, Bill Montgomery, was opposed to it. So now they're gone. So now we're able to really look at it and how do we do justice differently? I think Senator Quesada pointed it out at the beginning. He wants to focus on criminal justice reform. Right on. More than half of our budget, nearly $1 billion, we spent on criminal justice. too much, too much. We got to reduce that. We got to look at criminal justice differently. We got to do it smarter. We created a smart justice commission there at Maricopa County. How do we reduce the number of folks that are going into our jails? How do we give them alternatives from anything like a home detention or some type of diversion program? That's the direction we need to do. Putting people in jail is not always the answer. That should be held to the most violent criminals. But for the most part, when someone does something wrong, yes, they want to pay their debt to society. But at the same time, they shouldn't lose their job. They shouldn't lose their homes. We need to give them an opportunity to pay their debt to the society and at the same time be able to support their families.
Thank you very much. Okay, there's been two people that have commented back to Teddy, and it said, you didn't answer about what you've done for DACA students. And let's see, what was the other one here? Let me go back. I apologize. Yes, it says, please answer on the DACA students.
So for DACA, you know, being a president organization, NAREP, we would every year go to DC and talk to our congressmen and senators about DACA, number one. And that's to support all children under the DACA guidelines. I also just had the other day, had Ruben Reyes on. I had Juan for IHOF restaurant there. He's a DACA recipient, discussing what the differences of and what the struggles they go through and what they have been involved with. So for me, I absolutely feel that DACA is a huge issue that as a state, we need to step up. We need to step up. We can't let the federal government decide what fates are of our state, because if we let the federal government decide solely on what the state of Arizona is going to do based on the other 49 states are out there, we got to make sure that we protect the people in our community. Because in LD 29, there are a lot of people in our community that are listed under DACA, and some are listed and some are not. And the fear of their families and not be able to have the ability to protect themselves and understand that they're protected as a whole is a huge perspective.
Thank you. The next question is also for Teddy. I will read it to you. It says, given that we are 2 seats from gaining the majority in the state house and we have 2 incumbents that work hard and are leaders of various caucuses, which is a huge advantage, by the way. One, why did you choose to run for state rep now? If you think you can do a better job or had problems, why didn't you reach out to Representatives Andrade and Chavez to talk to them and work with them on that?
So when you talk about what the problems are, there's no such thing as just problems. What it comes down to is that I want to come in, and I'll be honest, there's people on this panel that said, why did you run now? Why didn't you wait 2 years? Because they're going to turn out, and then you can run at that point. And to me, I feel like, yeah, I probably should have ran 2 years. But to be honest with you, I was going through a divorce. I divorced from my wife. I have my kids live with me. I've been living in my house for 17 years. I know for me that what I see from my community, and I see it every day. Every day, I deal with people. Hey, I want to buy a home. What can I do? What's the process? And I look at their incomes and I realize, hey, you're not making enough. So let's put you on the path to home ownership. Let's get you to work with the people that can get you there. And when I see that, are these guys, is everybody on this panel doing anything wrong? Absolutely not. They're elected officials. They were elected by the people at the time. But this is a new time. We need a new lens. Whether it's 2 years from now, whether it's now, this is the time to make a difference. And sometimes I feel that when you're at the end of your term, you sometimes ride that out a little, a little more than you should. And when we're coming into 2021, that board where everybody was having what bills they want to put out, it's going to be wiped clean because there's going to be a whole new slate of issues that we're going to have to deal with. And when you have a whole new slate, do you want somebody that's going to come in strong for the next 10 years? Or do you want somebody that's going to finish off in the next 2? And then that person comes in to have it change it then. So I feel like, I'm coming at the perfect time. This is a perfect time for me because this is time COVID came in and it changed the world, turned it upside down. But at the end of the day, it made an opportunity for every downfall in the history of the United States, there's been an opportunity for people to make a difference. You know, whether inventions are made or whether people take leadership or whether people look at it from a different lens. And I'm just looking at it from a different lens. I'm not your typical politician. I've never held a public office. All I know is that I see things that need to be done differently.
Thank you. And the last question I have for Teddy Castro is, have you ever been asked not to return to a sports bar because you were in dispute with management over payment of your bill?
No, I've never had that before.
Okay.
Is that really a question?
It really was, yes. It's a question. It was sent to us. Now there's a few other questions we have for all of the panelists. One says, this is from Anna Abathia. I mentioned her name because she is a candidate for Cartwright School Board. And she says, after talking with many parents in the district about the number of COVID cases that continue to rise in Arizona, and now with Ducey opening up schools, those parents are very concerned about sending their children back to school, but also don't have the support they need to provide childcare to keep them home. My question, what would your plan be to help provide our school districts with childcare for families that need them? Teddy, let's start with you.
Well, like first statement when you asked me what was my main initiative is to make sure education stabilizes. It maintains its strength. And if that means that we got to provide laptops and work with have this utility companies, you know, provide internet sources, it's so that these kids can still learn. Because I know that at-home learning is not the same as in-school learning. It's a very difficult sway that I know a lot of districts are trying to work together to have the same message for the parents. And every parent has a different gauge of what their fear is of how COVID is going to affect them and their kids. You know, I know parents that are, you know, obviously we're all worried about what's going to go on, but some are not as worried as others. And so when it comes down to, can our kids, should they have care? Absolutely. That's something I believe we should start teaching our kids things earlier. You know, we wait too long to teach our kids so that, you know, there's a lot of 20 to 25-year-olds out there, you know, still playing Xbox at home and not really doing anything for themselves, when we should start teaching these kids at 3 to 4 years old how to do things that kids are learning at 5 and 6 and move up the scale, because that's when they're soaking it all in. That's when they're the smartest, is when they're actually at that young age. And if we can provide a service that provides, you know, a care system that's before school and after school for our kids, that's going to help them mentally grow, which is going to help our state as an education system get on the higher on the list, not at the 47, 48 that we're always fighting for, more like in the top 10, hopefully to number 1.
Thank you, Supervisor Steve Gallardo.
Oh man, that's like the number one question by even our county employees. We have 14,000 county employees, and probably the number one question is what's going to happen? Should the schools open, or vice versa? What happens if they don't open? Who's going to be home to take care of little Johnny? I think one of the things that the federal government did do right, they expanded FMLA to include kids who were having to stay home. Their parents were able to utilize FMLA. We need to expand that, to continue that to the end of the year. I think we need to use CARES dollars to utilize for daycare. I know all the school districts got CARES money. Unfortunately, a lot of that money has been invested into online, which is very important as well. But that is one of the key issues that, again, school districts shouldn't be burned with this as well, just themselves. I think this is something that the state needs to be engaged in. The county can definitely be engaged in. You know, there's monies out there. How do we utilize them to take care of many of our students? I know, just being on the Phoenix Union High School Governing Board, we're going online. However, our students are a little bit older, so they can stay home. It's the feeder schools that are our big concerns. It's Cartwright, it's Alhambra, it's Isaac, Roosevelt, you name it. It's these schools where you have little ones and the parents are having to decide, do they go home, or do they go to work and earn money, or do they stay home? They shouldn't have to be forced to make that decision. I think expanding FMLA, I think businesses should take that in consideration. It's not only just the cities and the counties. I can tell you the county and the city are both working together to ensure that our employees are taken care of come August 3rd. Big issue.
As a county employee, thank you. I will never stop saying thank you. Representative Andrade.
Thank you, Monica, for that question, because that is actually something that we've been pushing for our own special session and everything to address this, because we have working groups that have been working on these issues on how to address assistance for childcare, because many parents are, they don't know what to do. Everybody's in a panic because you're going to have to go to work. What am I going to do with my child? And with the schools talking about opening up our schools, which a lot of us are against that, because if you listen to the educators talking about, what are you going to do when somebody shows up and they have COVID-19? So that discussion is a bigger discussion that we need to have, and doing it through special session. Of course, the most important thing is they're already in denial that COVID-19 isn't that serious, and that's why they're opening up everything. So hopefully when we do get back into special session, or if we ever do go to special session, and that's something we need to talk about, the employees with the county. I'm glad Supervisor Gallardo mentioned it earlier. It's a big concern for everybody, for the whole workforce. What are we going to do with our kids? Childcare is expensive when it comes to daycares and everything else associated with that. They can't afford that, and now they're going to be even more burdened. So once again, it's legislation we're going to have to introduce to get this done, and hopefully we do it soon, because the clock is ticking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next to Javier.
On the issue of childcare?
Yes. I don't know if that's something you can affect, but you can certainly have an opinion on it.
I believe that what the court can do is point people to one of the things that the court does often, or has a lot of cases of, is domestic violence issues, the orders of protection. A lot of this stuff happens because people are together for too long in a house, without able to go to work or get out of the house. So these things are normal developments of that. One of the things that the court can do, as I think I mentioned at the beginning, is have resources available for people when they need them. I may not necessarily create a program for childcare, but these other people will pass legislation that will create those resources. Even the private sector can have some resources. Some nonprofit agencies can have resources. So anything helps. If someone comes before the court because of an order of protection, and then everything else falls out, well, we are there. We can provide resources in that respect, or many others. That's as far as I think we can do. I have a little bit of time, and I think the answer to the question of DACA wasn't meant for me. I thought it was, and the other, but I want to tell everybody out there, my wife is a lifelong educator. So when the Red for Ed protests were going on, I wasn't protesting. Maybe somebody who eventually wants to be a judge should not be out there. However, she was, and I supported her. She had the little tent with everybody from the district there. I paid for pizzas. I paid for food. I went and took coffee. I think Representative Chavez remembers that. So I support that. DACA, when it came out, I was just an attorney for a few years. I opened DACA for free for people in the district, in my wife's school district. So I told my wife, anybody that that qualifies, send them over. I will do their DACA for free. And by the way, I believe there's the first attorney in Arizona that I believe was the DACA individual, was my paralegal, and was promoted and grew up with me, and now he's a successful attorney. So those are my views on that. And I just wanted to get those two pieces of information out.
Thank you very much. Senator Quesada.
Yeah, no, I think I want to thank Anna for asking that question, and good luck on your race for Cartwright, because that covers a large part of the LD29 community. So we always want good leadership in those school board positions. But that's definitely a critical issue that all of our K-8 districts especially are going to be facing in the next couple of months. And I'm a school board member as well in the Pendergast district. And I can tell you, we are very, very concerned because we voted to go all virtual to start our schools on August 5th. That's the first day of our school year. And it's gonna be all virtual. That means the kids are all gonna be home. These are kids from kindergarten through 8th grade. Not all of them can stay home by themselves. They're gonna need somebody to watch over them. And we're not sure how families are gonna work that out. So I think that's a big concern. And I think schools are still trying to figure that out now. But as for a solution, let me tell you one thing we could be doing, because I think what we should be doing is making wiser spending decisions and holding our governor accountable for the spending decisions that he makes. The governor recently gave schools $270 million in CARES Act money. $40 million of that went to expand, it's the governor's program of expansion of broadband in rural communities. That's a good project. We're supportive of that, but it's a long-term project, which means it's not gonna help anybody this year or next year. It's not gonna help anybody for a long time. We should have used that money for the crisis that we're in right now. Use that there's $40 million right there that we could have directed towards childcare for our students in our schools right now, or to support other organizations that are already trying to do that. Those are the types of spending decisions that we as Democrats need to be making and pressuring our governor to make wiser and more effective uses of that money.
Thank you very much. And Representative Chavez.
First, I want to thank Ms. Abeitia for stepping up to the plate. She's a young individual, but very bright, and more than anything, she probably has a better concept of what the current state of public education is. Secondly, I think that our school districts, especially the ones in Legislative District 29, are doing a tremendous job. I do think that we're rushing into getting back into a physical classroom. My mother is actually a janitor at one of our public schools, and the last thing that I would want is for my own mother to be exposed to COVID-19, much less our educators, our students, of which in the state of Arizona, 1/3 of our educators are over the age of 50. And so as we're moving forward and closer to the start date for our school year, I want us to go into a model in which we can broaden virtual learning, but we're also needing to provide subsidies to these families who are looking for child care assistance funds. That's something that we've had a wait list for over 2 years, and of which the Republican Party has done nothing, even after the beck and call of the Democratic caucus. Those late, long nights at 2, 3 in the morning, we've ran amendments to those budget bills to ensure that our families have child care subsidies. And of course, today, we're in a detriment in which they are left out in the shadows once again. So as we're moving closer to a start date, I do hope that we go to expand that virtual learning.
Thank you very much. There's a couple questions here that I think we can just do yes or no. I think people want to have the answers, and after that, we're going to wrap up. Our goal was 7:30, and if we wrap up by 8, I think we're still okay. So if you are in support of students returning to school, brick and mortar, please raise your hand. So may I take it that that everyone on this panel is not in support of children returning to a brick and mortar school? You are in support of virtual/distance learning. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you are in support of sanctuary cities. Okay, so keep your hand up. I'm going to let everybody know because we might have some people who are just on the call. So if you are in support of sanctuary cities, we have, yes, Teddy Castro, Steve Gallardo, Javier Sobampo, Martin Quesada, Cesar Chavez, and Richard Andrade. Thank you. And for those who did not see the last question, not one of our panelists is in support of our children returning to school. As Representative Chavez said, we have every single employee there. We cannot risk them. And a plug real quick, I'm part of Glendale Elementary. 85301 is huge. 303, which is Cartwright, or excuse me, 033, 85031. Those are Cartwright and maybe a little bit of Alhambra. We can't risk that. And last question, this someone else had. If you are in support of Ban the Box, and I know that there's going to be someone here that's going to be putting 2 hands up, please raise your hand. Yes. So in support of Ban the Box, we have Senator Quesada, Representative Chavez, Representative Andrade, Supervisor Steve Gallardo, Teddy Castro, and not Javier, or you want to stay out of that one?
I'm not familiar with the issue enough to be able to give an opinion.
Fair enough. Another one that was asked, and I don't know what it is, let me double check it here, see if there's an explanation. Are you in support of card check? Does anyone know what card check is? I don't. Okay. Oh, okay, go ahead.
I believe my understanding of card check is when an employee when a union comes into an employer with cards that employees can sign their support that they want to be represented by a union. That's definitely something that I do support. I believe that employees should have the right to choose whether they want to be represented by a union or not.
Yes, Representative Andrade.
Yes, and just to further add to the comment about unions operate under a democratic procedure. It's always by majority. So when the employees, the majority says, hey, we want to be unionized, it's the majority by vote. So thank you.
Okay. So we'll take a vote on that later. I wouldn't be comfortable asking you because it's good information, but it's not enough. So we are going to try to wrap this up. I will give everybody 2 more minutes to say whatever it is you'd like to say. We'll start with Teddy Castro.
So first of all, I want to correct, when we were talking about the unemployment, everybody on the panel was talking about $840 a month. It's actually $840 a week, just so we're all on the same page with that. But as for me, I am very excited. I am proud to represent the West Valley, LD29, growing up, living here, you know, going to St. Vincent, Borman, Maryville, even went to Trevor for a little bit. It's an exciting time, and it's going to be a great time, you know, with new faces in office, such as myself. And I appreciate everybody's support. I want to make a difference for my community. I want to make a difference for the real estate community. You know, there's housing out there that needs to be addressed. There's education that needs to be addressed. Healthcare, wages need to be addressed. And coming from a place where I view that every day, when it comes to real estate, all those things are related to the same thing, you know, and they're all relative to each other. So, and when I deal with people that come to buy a home from me, I have to ask all these questions all the time to understand where they're coming from and where they want to go. So I appreciate everybody's support. Thank you very much. And LD29, Teddy Castro, vote for me.
Thank you. Supervisor Steve Gallardo.
Thank you, Monica, and of course the Democratic Party. There's a lot at stake this particular election. It really is, and the primary is the first step. We have an opportunity to nominate folks that are going to represent our party, and voters can start doing that as early as today. Early voting started at 3 locations. Tomorrow we'll have our 4th location, and then as we go on, we'll have additional locations. But there's a lot at stake. We have an opportunity to not only turn this state blue and nominate or elect Joe Biden as our next president. We also have an opportunity to send Mark Kelly as a member of our United States Senate, having 2 Democrats representing the state of Arizona. I have to go back in my history here to find out when that was the last time that's ever happened. But ultimately also have a chance to win back the House and the Senate, turn the county. We have great candidates up and down the ballot for our county offices. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Marisa, but I think it's every office has a Democrat, including the County Board of Supervisors. We have an opportunity to really govern under democratic terms, put working families first, to be able to decide what's important for our community when it comes to housing, when it comes to healthcare, transportation, the whole gamut. So this is a big year. not only for Democrats, but for working families across the state of Arizona. I'm excited. We have a great team representing our party, and but it starts off this particular primary election. Let's encourage our people, get out to vote. Let's vote not only in the primary, but our general election. We all know this. Many of us have ran before. It's all about turnout. We got to get our families out, and the party just can't do it themselves. We need to help them, help turn the vote out and get new voters out to the polls. So I'm excited this year. Thank you, Monica, LD29, for putting this together. Thank you, Marisa, and the Democratic Party for everything you do as well.
Thank you very much. Representative Andrade.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Marisa, for taking the time this evening and everything. Well, we have choices this evening. You're going to either elect someone who really represents our community. I'm out there talking to our voters, canvassing, yes, using social guidelines, the CDC guidelines, social distancing, wearing a mask, talking to many voters. You'll see those little signs out in a lot of yards and everything. You have a representative that works for you, not special interests, not the big corporations or big businesses. You have someone who really represents your values, democratic values. And when it comes to our democratic values, that means we represent people. You're going to have a choice to make. And I'm hoping that choice is me, because I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. Yes, I have been successful in getting legislation through. And guess what? I have not given up my progressive values to do that. Everybody knows who I am. Yes, I am the voice of labor at the Capitol, and I will continue to be the voice for our veterans. But more importantly, I'm going to be the voice as well as for our educators and our teachers. But I'm going to also be your voice. And once again, that's why I'm asking, because it is about us. It is about our community, our district. It is about our democratic values. I'm proud to be elected. I will continue to be proud. But more importantly, I'm even prouder because I am the grandson of a DACA. They came here for the dream, and we are that dream. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you're doing to move us forward, especially in our district. As you walk away, just ask this one question. Who has been there for you? Who have you seen at the door? Who have you seen speaking out on many issues? And that answer is, of course, Richard Andrade. So once again, thank you for everything. Let's get those ballots in. And by the way, it's not just about us. I also have helped and collected signatures for many other candidates, because we need to make sure that we help everybody, including great candidates that are running for other offices. Thank you. Have a nice evening. And if you really want to see what I have information on that special interest, email me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Javier.
Yes. As an attorney, I think I bring the ability to hit the ground running. Every justice of the peace has a certain period of training that they have to go through. But somebody that practices, that is actually there practicing in the civil area, criminal arena, they should be ready to go on day one. I really would like to bring some change to the District of Maryville. 20 years ago, Facebook was in diapers, and some of the social media avenues that we now have and we cannot live without were not even existing. Things change in 20 years. People change in 20 years. And one of the things that I see in this distinguished group of people here is that they're involved in their community. They work with the community. They're out there. And I believe a justice of the peace should do the same. I believe that through the years, there's a lot of attorneys that burn out. There's a lot of attorneys that forget what their original mission was when we graduated from law school and we were all excited about making a change in the world. Well, I'm relatively young enough and not burned enough to be able to bring that energy to the District of Maryville and make some changes. Customer service is really important. Working on some community outreach is really important, and working on the access to the court for litigants and the constituents is very important. Working around schedules that may be more convenient for them, using technology that up until a couple of years ago was adverse to any of the wishes of judges. They didn't like it, they didn't want it. And now it seems to be the only way that we can do this. So bringing technology into the courtroom to facilitate the administration of justice is what I want to do. So I would ask to pass on the word and to vote for me for Justice of the Peace of the District of Maryville.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Senator Quesada.
Yeah, first of all, just thank you to Monica and to LD29 for putting on this event. We have a great group here in LD29. I have the privilege of working with all of our PCs here in LD29. So I just want to thank all of you. And it's been the honor of my life to serve the people of Maryville and Glendale in the Senate and in the House of Representatives before that, and up till today on the Pendergast School Board as well. When I first got sworn into office back in 2012, I was given some advice, and I've tried to follow that advice throughout my career. One, I was told to remember that I am only a steward of, but not the owner of my seat. And what that means is that when people call me senator, they're not honoring me as a person, they're honoring my seat and what that seat is capable of doing for the people of my district. So that's why up to this day, when I always introduce myself, I say, my name is Martin Quesada and I represent the people of Maryville and Glendale in LD29, because it's the people that are more important than me. And I represent them as their state senator. I'm not State Senator Martin Quesada, and then I go off into my spiel. So I think that's important. The other piece of advice I was given was to embrace the risks that proposing big ideas has, and to set my goals, my political goals, based on what the people of my district deserve, rather than what I assume is politically realistic. And what I found is that when you do that, you're able to accomplish some of those goals, and you're actually able to get some of what the people actually deserve. But when you start to set a low bar on what you believe is politically realistic, you will meet that bar, and you will only get that lower bar, if that. And oftentimes you get much less than that. So I try to do that. And then the last thing I was told is to don't ever go home at night wishing I wouldn't have sacrificed my values or my morals in my office. And I've tried to do all of those things as your state senator. And I'm always asking for the opportunity to earn your vote one more time, to go back to the Senate and serve the people of Maryville and Glendale. So I ask you once again, please give me the opportunity to earn your vote. Check out my website, martinquesada.com, and follow me on social media at senquesada29.
Thank you very much. And again, not last, but certainly never least, Representative Chavez.
Thank you. And once again, I want to thank Monica and Maritza for putting this on, but I mostly want to thank those of you watching this forum and informing yourselves and practicing your constitutional right to vote. I think that in these last 4 years, we've definitely done so much as a collaborative, not Cesar Chavez as a person, but as LD29 and the individuals who want to make that change. I don't represent myself, I represent my community, a diverse community, one that I feel that I'm very qualified to represent as somebody who came to this country as an immigrant, somebody who was undocumented, somebody who is openly gay, and who is going to continue to voice the misrepresentation in our communities, and who will continue to bring forth the necessities for our district. I will say that I owe being in this position not only to each and every one of you, the voters, but also to I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him, one of the greatest individuals that I've ever met, my mentor, a great statesman, Maritza's father, Mr. Ben Miranda, who I am here because of him, and the great values that he brought for our communities are ones that I will continue to push forward in Legislative District 29. So thank you all very much for the greatest honor I've had of representing each and every one of you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to take a moment to thank you all for coming this evening. I think that soon we may have to have another one. There was a lot of interest in this. I don't see the numbers of how many people were on, but I understand there's quite a few. So, and there's questions we did not get to just in the interest of time. So again, we are proud, for those of you out there watching, we are proud to be part of LD 29. We are diverse, as the representative said. We have people who have lived in their homes for 50 years and they live right around the corner from me. And there's homes that have been there since the 60s, and there's homes that are being 600 feet away, being built brand new. There are people who have put down roots and they want to stay in this community. So we invite you to join us, like our page, LD29. We will post this video on LD29 and you can share it yourself from there. If you have any questions, you can always email me at ld29.democrats with an S @gmail.com. Again, thank you, Teddy Castro, Steve Gallardo, Javier Sobampo, Cesar Chavez, Martin Quesada, and Richard Andrade for coming on. We will be doing another one of these soon with more candidates, maybe different candidates, and we will be doing school board further in the fall. So everybody, thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Thank you.